Hey guys, it's Chris White here, and I wanted to talk to you this week about healthy competition. And in some ways, this conversation is an extension from what we talked about last week with rough and tumble play, except now it extends more deeply into a complex set of circumstances, games that have more complex rules and often complex structures like teams and things like that. But at its essence, healthy competition has within it always both competitive aspects and cooperative aspects. And this is how we're built as human beings. We have within us an urge to compete, and we also have an urge within us to cooperate. And in healthy competition, we're doing both kind of in turn as an integrated whole in support of the game. One of the things about games is that some people focus a little bit too much on the competitive aspects, and rightfully so. You know, there's been lots of times where competition boils over and is all about winning and all about beating the other team and scoring more points and achieving and, image and things like that. And so understandably, there's been this push in the enlightened parenting community to kind of tone that down. And in a lot of places, they don't even let the kids keep score for the first several years of their teams and whatnot to try to keep that to a minimum. But I think there's other unhealthy reasons for why they do that too, in terms of self-esteem building, this belief that you actually have to keep puffing kids up for them to feel good about themselves and protect them from losses and protect them from disappointment and embarrassment and things like that. I'll talk more in the longer video, which the link will be below this video, about all of those things. But for now, suffice it to say that competition always has within it, or games have within it, both competitive and cooperative aspects. Of course, there's the competitive part where you're trying to score a goal. You're trying to get past your team and hit a target of some kind, put the goal in the back of the net in soccer, or score a touchdown in football, or whatever it may be. So you're against the other team in that way and trying to prove your excellence against that other team. But there are always cooperative aspects built in that people often overlook. Number one, you usually have to cooperate with your teammates to do well. In order to compete and to succeed, there's the cooperative inter-team dynamics at play. So that's one element of cooperation. And even if you're playing a single sport, like in tennis, one person against another, all sports have a set of rules that you have to follow. So you have to agree on these rules and work within that framework together for the game to continue in a functional way. Otherwise, it'll just be chaos. Nobody knows who's winning, who's losing, or what's going on at all. And so there's always cooperation within games in addition to competition. Let's look at healthy competition versus unhealthy competition real quickly. First of all, the best thing about the healthy form of competition is that you are doing something to get better, right? You're sharpening your skills, you're increasing your tool set, you're coming up against adversity, and you're trying to get better and better and better. And when you play against somebody, when you compete, usually that raises your skill level. How hard you work, how hard you try, how hard you train, different things like that. It really brings out the best in you. And healthy competition ultimately is aimed at what the Greeks called aratos, or excellence. It's really about bringing out the best in each of us as individuals, and then of course collectively as a society, because we're doing this together. So that's the healthy form of competition versus just doing it just to win, right? Or just to be better than somebody else and just to have the image of, I'm the winner and they're the loser, That's a more unhealthy version of it, rather than being a self as a process and getting better and better across your lifespan. So when you play in a healthy way and compete in a healthy way, you're doing it, again, to be a process, to get better and better. You know that you did your best even if you lost, right? And if you showed up, and especially if you lost, if you were a good sport about it, right? If you really appreciated the skill level of the person you were playing against and you were good about it, and like, nice game, man, that's healthy competition in action. The other dimension of healthy competition is that you can turn it off, that you don't have to compete around everything all the time, constantly, that there are times to compete and to really push yourself into that mode and into that shape, and then there are other times to just relax and enjoy each other and not make everything into a competition. So that's another aspect of healthy competition that's important to remember. The third dimension about healthy competition is that it develops resilience. And I think of resilience as having two forms. There's the upshift form of resilience, where there's challenges in life, there's stresses in life, and in the face of those challenges, you pull together your resources, you gather up what you need to, you stay focused, and you weave your way toward your goal, and you find your way there despite adversity, right? So you're upshifting into that mode. The downshift form of resilience is much tougher, but it's much more fundamental to our growth as a human being, to our humility, to the widening of our hearts, to our wholeness as a person. And the downshift version of resilience comes when we try to win, we try to get something in life. Life says, no, you can't win this game, or no, you can't have what you want. And we might fight a little bit and try to do the upshift form of resilience, but at some point it sinks in like, this ain't happening. The score is 3-0. We've lost the game. Can that person sink into their vulnerability in that moment? Can they drop into the disappointment in their heart, into the sadness, into feelings like powerlessness? If you hold a child across their lifespan in moments of disappointment so that they can handle their vulnerability and go into this downshift form of resilience, they will become incredibly strong as human beings. Because what happens is they go down into the feelings. It's like a down emotion into the heart. They feel the sadness. They go all the way down. Maybe they even have a cry. Like, when you're younger, you have a really good cry after a loss, You go down in there and you always come to the bottom of your tears, and they naturally stop. And then you have that long exhale at the end, and then you make the turn back into life. And on the other side, you feel completely refreshed, completely opened up, more spaciousness. And especially important here, you feel a resilience in your bones. Your ego was telling you you couldn't handle it. You couldn't handle losing. You had to win. You had to win. And when life said no, and you dipped into this vulnerability and you survived what Gordon Neufeld calls the adaptive process, and you come out the other side, there's suddenly this implicit feeling in your bones like, oh my God, I can handle losing. I can handle disappointments. I can handle loss. And your heart grows like the Grinch, from the small, like 3 sizes larger it grows as a result of that tussle with vulnerability. And so it's really important in games to not always let your child win. Maybe let them win half of the time, or maybe a little bit more, whatever. Depends on how your child's built too, what exactly they need. It's not a formula, but you need to make sure they lose some games, and you need to make sure they lose regularly early so they can learn how to handle disappointment and sadness and powerlessness. It's incredibly important for them to have those small tussles with vulnerability with you, a safe place, where they can really have their tears and have their feelings and be okay before they do it out in the world with their friends or at school or on the soccer field, So for all of these reasons, healthy competition is important, and it's important to let our kids engage in healthy competition so that they can learn and grow and develop as human beings. There will be a link at the bottom of this video to a much longer video about this. I have a lot to say about the evolutionary basis for this and why it's important and how to go about it and how enlightened parenting kind of inhibits our ability to do it well. But I'll leave this video here for now, and pop over to Fiercely Loving Father's website. Plenty of good resources over there, and I'm available for coaching if you want some more guidance on this. Until next time, take care.